the happy and the aspirational faces that I see here tells an important story about India, tells an important story about Maharashtra. So my sense is that functioning in the government or functioning in the corporate world is not very different as long as you have a very straight focus on getting stuff done. And I think that's the key.
You've been an entrepreneur and now you're in politics. How have you made that journey?
Okay, so first and foremost, thank you so much for bringing TechSparks to Mumbai. It's a remarkable event. I am absolutely fascinated by the response, and the happy and the aspirational faces that I see here tells an important story about India, tells an important story about Maharashtra. So thank you so much for that. I am not a politician. I was in the private sector till 2014, and I was inducted in the government as a joint secretary and OSD to the chief minister then. And I've been in the government for almost a decade now. So it's been a very interesting journey. My primary focus areas are looking after infrastructure, investments, technology, policy. It's a tough battle to navigate government systems. Over a period of last 10 years, I've had immense learning. Had no experience working in the government, but all I can say is that the canvas that the government provides and the ability to kind of bring change is extremely satisfying. And under the leadership of my boss, who is Mr. Fadnavis, and also the Chief Minister, Mr. Shinde, I think we are very focused on making sure that we create a robust ecosystem for startups.
कि अच्छे लोग पॉलिटिक्स में कैसे जाते हैं और सर्वाइव कैसे करते हैं बिकॉज मेरा तो अभी भी मानना है कि हम नहीं जी पाएंगे बट यू आर नॉट ओनली देयर बिकॉज यू हैव बीन एन एंटरप्रेन्योर यू आर लाइक अस एंड यू बीन इन द सिस्टम एंड मेकिंग थिंग्स हैपन
I would say it's tough. Like every profession, like every job that you have, whether it's in corporate, whether it's a startup, there are significantly large amount of challenges. But I think what works is that if you keep yourself focused on some of the fundamental principles that you would like to deliver and leave a legacy or leave a mark for yourself, then you can move the ecosystem around you and get things done. But for that to happen, you need to have a very solid boss who needs to empower you. In my case, I have been extremely fortunate. And my boss has given me the ability, or whoever works for him gives them the ability to really bring change. There have been so many instances of probably mistakes or learnings that I have done in the last 10 years, but every single time I have made sure that, I learn from it and move forward. So it is tough. I completely realize your sentiment. I had a very similar sentiment in 2013-14 when I was not in the government. And I always used to think that this is this extremely difficult, non-transparent haze, which is called the government, and they do something and then things are working. And, there are so many different set of issues that we have to handle on a day-to-day basis. But after coming inside the government, I've realized the complexities of getting anything done in a democratic setup. Because everybody has a view. I mean, if I have to do infrastructure project which impacts millions of people in Mumbai, like we're doing today. I mean, we started all that in 2015. Getting a simple metro project done is a humongous challenge. And getting permissions and even for the government to get central permissions, to get all the officers to interact, to get them to kind of agree, it's a challenge, and it's a process that you have to commit yourself to. So my sense is that functioning in the government or functioning in the corporate world is not very different as long as you have a very straight focus on getting stuff done. And I think that's the key. And I would encourage people to actively participate in governance. You're already governing companies, you're running companies, you're heads of various divisions within your group. Similarly, in government also, we have heads of departments and so on and so forth. Same set of challenges. But government is not anything to be scared of. I think a lot of change has happened. Government is working on the fundamental philosophy of being more transparent, being more accountable, being more efficient, and being more effective. And I think I want to clear this misconception, if there is any, that government is a black hole. It is not. It is a very forward-looking, institution which has an important responsibility of governing the constitution and to make sure that progress happens.
You know, but honestly, couldn't agree more because someone like you is sitting and in the government, that is the change. And yesterday I was talking about this, that we talk about new India, startup India, digital India, and the India that we are all living in. We have people now, the change is happening within government. Because
Absolutely.
people are coming, people like you are coming and driving things. And of course, I can't emphasize more, having a secure boss. Kaustubh, I want to understand also from you, what are you doing to drive the startup agenda in Maharashtra? Because Karnataka सब बोल रहे हैं Mumbai, 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 मगर Bangalore तो है ना better.
Yeah, so I'm a core Mumbaikar. I was born in Dadar. I was raised in Andheri. I did my engineering, MBA, and one education abroad. So I am more Mumbaikar than you can get. And one very interesting thing about Mumbai is that its roads are not just paved with stardust, but they're also paved with gold dust. It's the commercial, entertainment, financial capital of the country. In the 80,674 startups that are registered in India, about 15,000 odd come from Maharashtra. So Maharashtra technically, just from a statistical standpoint, is the startup capital. But what we have seen over the last, say, about 7 to 10 years, is that startups get started here, and then they move out of Mumbai to places which are more economical and more availability of talent and the ecosystems, like Bengaluru or Hyderabad and so on. So my sense is that the focus of the government now is to make sure that we are ahead of the curve in terms of the decisions that we take. So our policy framework has gone a sea change. So I'll give you some insights, a couple of minutes into the way we are now looking at policy for startups. So startups are a place where every day the technology landscape, the requirements are changing. And you can't have a straight-jacketed single-piece policy that hamare paas startup ki policy, it's not a tick mark. So what we have created is that we have created a startup framework, and then we are going to do runtime policy changes. We are going to be very nimble-footed. So if there is a particular sector which requires a particular intervention in policy, typically the roundup is 3 months, it goes to various desks and then goes to cabinet. Instead, we have a framework and the new addition can happen instantly. So that's a sea change in the thinking that we are doing when we are talking about enabling policy. It has resulted in significant gains for us, and we are seeing a huge traction. TechSparks is an example of that, and much more to come. So my sense is, have your policy extremely, extremely nimble-footed and change-worthy for the relevant level of conversations or interventions. Secondly, we are also very strongly focused on making sure that Tier 2, Tier 3 cities entrepreneurs get immense support. So in the budget recently, the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, who is also the Finance Minister, announced a slew of measures, including creation of an incubation center on the lines of T-Hub. So T-Hub is a great example, and there are great examples across the country that we can emulate. And such interventions are crucial for us to create a mechanism where there is invitation, encouragement, and enablement of startups. Startups are the real piece of Atmanirbhar Bharat. If really India wants to become self-reliant, you need to create massive entrepreneurship in the country, and we are fully committed to it.
Thank you for saying that, and you alluded to T-Hub, something like T-Hub. One of the things, issues one had with Mumbai, and I moved from Mumbai to Bangalore, was यहाँ rentals बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत expensive है.
See, one of the key things what happened with Mumbai in the period between 2000 and 2014 when massive companies left is that we really didn't focus on creating great infrastructure in important cities. So important cities are Mumbai, Pune, Thane. And there were projects which were stuck for decades, like the coastal road which is happening now, the Trans Harbour Link which is going to connect Mumbai to Navi Mumbai. It's a 22-kilometer long bridge, the longest in the country over the sea, which is happening. The new airport is happening. So all of these projects are now in an accelerated fashion going to get delivered. What these projects are going to do to you is that you will be able to work in Mumbai and stay in Navi Mumbai, where significantly the rentals are much more affordable. And you will be able to reach Mumbai in 20 minutes. So that change is really going to trigger massive investments, is what we anticipate. The other very important aspect is that the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister has set a target. So he says that in order to achieve $1 trillion economy, and in his words, there are only two fundamental facets of it. One is speed of travel. He has been focused from day one to making sure that he moves people in Mumbai in less than an hour from one corner to another. Why it is important? Because it will give you a better quality of life. You will be not stuck in traffic forever. You will be able to be more productive and at the same time spend enough time, quality time with the family. That is very crucial to add that additional economic component to the GDP. So your being, having a better quality of life is a direct correlation with your contribution to the economy. And speed of data is important because we cannot produce so many teachers. We cannot have so many doctors in remote places. A lot of doctors refuse to work in remote areas because of conditions and so on and so forth. So when you have a robust network like BharatNet and Mahanet, history is geography. Geography is history. So what it allows you to do is that really, connect people faster on and use high-speed data to deliver medical services, to deliver educational services, and really kind of bridge that gap. So these are the two very important aspects, and I think that's going to change the game.
RBI is here, SEBI is here, and we are seeing so much of involvement in the fintech story that is emerging in India. And SEBI is so actively looking at so many, how should I word it properly? Looking very closely at the fintech startup space and everything. Do you see yourself playing a role in bringing these institutions, these bodies, interacting much closely with the startups at grassroots level?
Yeah, has to be. I think in their individual capacity, these institutions have been extending or doling out incentives and funds and investments, but it is not happening at a concentrated level of scale. So what is important is that initiatives like these to bring them together on a platform where government can. Technically ask yourself this question: what role does government have? All government needs to do is to enable. There is absolutely no other role that government has. And government, if it gets proposals of this nature, has to enable ecosystems like these. And once you enable that ecosystem, all these institutions, because they know that the government backs them, are more than happy to kind of, participate more aggressively. So all we need to do is that spend some time, make it a priority in the government to enable startups, and then really everything just starts falling in its place.
I want to ask you one thing, that how can common people like us get access to you?
You all have access. Seriously, this is one of the things that, I have to admit this. When I joined the government in 2014, I had several cultural shocks. And one of the things was that we were very close-ended, and typically governments are like that, and they tend to kind of not be very interactive. They do their work. We have great institutions, we have great officers. They, for the last 40, 50 years, they have done a remarkable job, everybody in bureaucracy. But what is more important is that, you have to say that, you are accessible. I sit on the 6th floor in Mantralaya. I will leave my coordinates with Shradha and the team at TechSparks. You all are free to get in touch with us, and we will route you to the relevant authorities. There are massive programs and plans, but really, the programs and plans are just tick marks unless and until you become part of it. So for us to be successful, you are important. We cannot be successful on our own by drafting policies and making tick marks in our budgets and announcing and making mega announcements. We will only be successful if you come to the party. We are sending out an invitation. It's a party. It's a celebration of entrepreneurship. Please participate in this party and come to us for anything that you need. There are smaller issues which I'm fully compliant of and aware of, and we are trying to address them one piece at a time. Yesterday I was having a conversation on, we have a very large SME loan fund. I am struggling every year to dole out as much as money as possible. Same with the startups. We need a mechanism where we need interesting applications, we need a smoother process, and so on and so forth. So I think there are great ideas to be done. India is a great story. I was in Davos in January, and you will not believe that every single buzz was happening either at the India Pavilion, at the Maharashtra Pavilion, at the Telangana Pavilion, at the Tamil Nadu Pavilion. Every single investor is looking at India from a growth standpoint, from an investment standpoint. This is the best time for us. And lastly, the most important facet of this, see, we are the youngest nation on this planet. 67% of our population is less than 27 years of age. But if political and administrative leaders do not put proper principles of policy in place, this demographic dividend will become a demographic curse. And in 5-7 years, you will have thousands of people unemployed if you do not bring in the right policies. So it is very important for us to recognize the need and the necessity to accelerate this and not be basking in the glory that हमने तो tick mark कर लिया, हमने policy ला लिया, अरे चलो चलो ठीक है system चलेगा. System ऐसे नहीं चल सकता. आपको आना पड़ेगा. हम आपको कह रहे हैं कि आप आइए, आपके लिए red carpet है और हम आपको मदद करेंगे.
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. पॉलिटिक्स में भी चले जाएंगे आप डायरेक्टली. Last question, last two questions. One is that, Kaustubh, if you had to share, because if we want to get into politics, like I don't know if anyone wants to get into politics, but we want to be involved more closely in the government, work in the government, and be in the place that you are in, because you have been an entrepreneur and you've, now for massive impact, you've joined this and you're doing this. क्या नुस्खा है? क्या एक चीज है जिससे आदमी सर्वाइव कर सकता है और इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है? What is it in you?
बहुत सारी चीजें हैं.
हाँ बताइए.
बहुत सारी चीजें. एक तो when we came in government in 2014, Mr. Fadnavis had this philosophy that you need to get younger ideas in the system. So we created something called the CM Fellowship Program in 2015. 50 of the brightest minds in the country, less than 26 years of age, we had to put an age barrier there because, or else the application pool size would have been humongous, were invited to participate. And from that time till 2019, every year we used to take 50 young minds and deploy them on projects. 5 people used to work with me continuously in the war room that I ran, and several other, with collectors and with, so this was one initiative which we took. It was stalled for between 20 and 22. Now it has started again. In fact, we have received thousands of applications and the next 60 are going to come. So that's one initiative if you're less than 26. If ever you want to get a sense or flavor of how governance works, apply for that program, spend 11 months with us, become a CM fellow, we reward you well, and the money is not much, but the experience is lifetime. The second piece is basically in your own small way, you can contribute in so many different ideas. If you have an idea you think that is really going to make an impact, reach out to us. And we'll be more than happy to navigate the idea and see if we can scale it across Maharashtra. So I think every single time there is an opportunity, you just need to raise your hand and say that I want to do this. And if you don't have a government who does not listen to you, please change that government.
What is the purpose that drives you?
Oh, okay. So that's I think, I believe that, I finished my engineering in 2000 and I was working in the corporate world for 14 years. And I obviously, worked in various companies and was an entrepreneur and created a company. And at some point in time when this question was posed to me, whether I will join the government, it was a very big decision for my family. And I think one of the guiding principles of that is that, what I felt is, the 5 years that I commit, because at that time it was the commitment of 5 years, the 5 years that I commit, I will be able to have a completely different point of view. I was very ROI focused because I was in MBA and everything was return on investment. And when I joined the government, I realized that there is something called as PROI, public ROI. Everything is not necessarily about money. It's incidental. Government's job is to really create institutions, create infrastructure, create mechanisms so that you all can be successful. And please bear this in mind, that the government cannot be successful unless and until you fully participate in that process. So my sense is, I think the purpose that we all, especially I tried to look at is try and create as much as impact as possible, because I think that this is a God-gifted opportunity to create change.
Kaustubh, I genuinely like you so much. And just so that, and हम कल कह रही थी कि हम अच्छा क्यों नहीं बोलते हैं, celebrate क्यों नहीं करते हैं और appreciate क्यों नहीं करते हैं, because we are, all of us are very good at critiquing. But when we have good people, then we need to celebrate. And I really celebrate you because because about you, I hear from entrepreneurs कैसे आप file जल्दी घुमाकर actionable चीज करते हैं. And we need more of you. So Kaustubh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for coming and supporting this event. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.